Hey, this is Luke from Steve White Motors. I've got a 5.7 and a 6.4 Challenger sitting out here, and I was going to take a few minutes and talk about the different air systems that you can add to them and what you can do and how you can modify them. It's a question we get asked all the time. So what I was going to first do is show you the two cars, kind of compare the two systems, and then walk you inside where I could show you some different cold air intakes and some different combination of tubes so I can explain it a little bit better. But first I wanted to show you what the cars are like. So basically we have two stock Challengers. This one is a 5.7. It's got the standard air box, and it's got this really ugly resonator kind of thing that goes to the throttle body. So on this style, you've got the air box, you've got a boot, you've got a tube, of course you've got this resonator, and then just in here, I'll pop this up so you can see it, we have a throttle body. I'll get this put back on. Let's walk over to the 6.4. So this is a 6.4, same scenario, basically the same box, except that the throttle body is turned, so there's no longer a tube. All you get is a boot. The other thing that's different on some of these, now all these vehicles 15 and up have the removable center on the headlamp. As you can see, this one's been removed, and I'm sure it does not have the tube. It's blocked from the back, if I'm not mistaken. Let me do it. And on these, they're blocked from the back. On the original ones, the early version of this, the plug was actually on the front. So if you look at 15 through like 17, the plug was actually on the front. On the 17 and up, they're on the back. We'll talk about that a little bit as we go inside in a minute. So again, just to recap, the 6.4 does not have a tube. All it has is a boot and basically the box. And again, if we go back and look at the 5.7, we have a box, we have a boot, we have another boot underneath the throttle body, and we have a tube with this, what I would call a really ugly resonator, or muffler. I'm not sure what to call it. Come on, follow me. So what I've done is I've laid out some different pieces so I could kind of identify what is what and try to make, because we get these questions every day. We get asked about this every day. So basically what I have over here is a cold air system for a 5.7. It's the same from 2011 all the way to 2020. They're exactly the same. The only difference between this kit and the 6.4 is the 6.4 does not get this boot or this tube and these two boots. What you get is basically what you see right here. Again, because there's no tube going to the throttle body, this is not required. Okay? So that's basically the difference on the cold air intake. So when you've got, again, 11 to 20, 5.7, 6.4, all basically use the same cold air in system. They all have the square hole in the front. The only difference is that the 6.4 does not get this tube. Now, on the early Headlight, there was two different variations. The difference between the early and the later version is this. The 15 through 17 did not have the illuminated center on the center of the inboard lamp. So the inboard lamp on the 17 and up or 18 and up illuminates, and it will have like a TA logo, or it could have a Dodge logo, the rhombus stripe logo, it could have the Hellcat logo, and so forth. Scat back logo. Because of that, this is a little bit too small and it won't fit. However, 11 or 15 through 18 or 17, this boot basically attaches to the front. It's real easy to do. You got basically 4 holes that you drill. You got 4 pop rivets, push pins, and this goes to the air box, goes through the rear of the headlamp, which makes it the headlamp functional. Again, this is basically the cold air intake system that you would use. Now, let's talk about how to modify these things. If you have from 2015 to 2020, basically, you can use the upper portion of what you have now. So you can use the original top of your box. You can change the lower box, like this box here. And if it's a early version that does not have the illuminated center, you would use this piece of hose that connects as such and would connect to the back of the headlight. If it's a later model that has the illuminated center, again, the center is a little bigger, so what happens is you have a different tube that goes from the box to the headlight. Again, very similar idea, but slightly different tube just because of the way the back of the headlamp is shaped. So again, if you've got an a 15 to 20, you can use the Hellcat box. You reuse your air filter, you reuse the top of your original box, like the box we just saw inside on those two cars. If it's a 15 through 17, you would most likely use this tube. If it's one with the illuminated center, basically 18 to 20, you would use this center. Now, on the 5.7s, you've got that ugly looking resonator that hangs off the side. A good way to eliminate that is a couple different ways. The cheapest, easiest way to do it is to go with the Charger tube. This is the tube that comes on the Dodge Charger. It will fit basically all the way from 11 to 20. The only thing you have to do is you need to change the sensor from your vehicle to this vehicle. So don't reuse the sensor depending on the year because they may be different. But what you would do is you would, it's fairly inexpensive, you get rid of that big muffler thing that hangs off the side, you would use this tube. The other way to remove and replace that tube is to go with the shaker tube. Basically, again, the same scenario. You're using the existing box in your vehicle. You're not changing anything. But what you've got is a boot, a couple of boots, and a tube. And what you're doing is you're replacing, again, that outside tube. This is a little more expensive. In the aftermath, we'll post some links so you can see what they are. And we'll give you some promo codes as well. A last way to do that you can do, one of the other ways that you can do is you can use the TA air filter system. This is typically the filter system that comes on the TA. You need 3 pieces to make this work. And 5.7 and 6.4 is different. The reason they're different is the neck is different. The size of the neck is different, and the hose is different. So, for example, if you have a 5.7 or 6.4, like we just looked outside, and you wanted to change the, you wanted this type of look instead of that type of look, you could easily go with this upper portion of the box, this filter, and this tube in order to make it work. Now, this bolts right onto the top of your existing box. So you would take the top cover, that cover gets replaced. So in other words, if I take this over here, this would fit, and I'll just like that. The filter goes inside, and then you have a tube. Of course, the original tube mounts to it. Of course, you've got the air filter we just saw over there. Then you have a small little tube that goes on the side that connects from here for the crankcase evacuation system. Very simple process. So just to kind of recap, we've got a cold air system, fits 11 through 20. Again, the only difference is this is not used on the 6.4. Of course, the 6.4 kit's a little cheaper because it doesn't have that. There's a couple of options if you're looking just to replace that ugly looking tube. You've got the Charger tube, you've got the shaker tube, and of course, if you want to continue to use your top box, but make your headlamp functional, there's 2 versions of that. And of course, you've got the final version that you can use. Again, I'm just going to stick this together. Just like that. And again, you can do the same thing. So there's a lot of options that you can do. We'll post the links and kind of what they fit afterwards, just so that it's easier to understand, and we'll also add a promo code. Again, Luke from Steve White Motors. Thank you.